Do you know the different options of birth plans available to you? Today I will teach you about them through the job of midwifery. If any of you plan on having children or have had children, this information is vital to you and them. I'm studying to become a midwife, and I've done extensive research into this field. In today's society, midwifery seems to be a thing of the past. Because a lot of people don't know what a midwife does, and they're actually the professionals when it comes to birth. Today I will cover the history of midwife, the education they have, and what they do. Midwifery has been around for hundreds of years, and it has gone through periods of good times and not so good periods. But it is starting to make a comeback into people's lives. Like I said, midwifery has been around for a long time. It's been around since the 1700s and is still prevalent today. Let's take a look back at the different time periods. The 1700s to the late 1800s was a time where midwives were mainly men, because it was kind of a tradition thing where a lot of the time doctors would just follow their dads and become the doctor that they were. And so the midwives would just follow through. And this time, mothers were usually women, were usually mothers, and were housewives. So later in the late 1800s, that's when the hospitals were built. As you can see right here, that's actually a women's hospital for birth, built in the late 1800s. And during this time, the hospitals weren't accessible to everyone because we didn't have health insurance then, our country didn't, and so only the rich people could go. So the people who weren't rich, like the middle class and the poor people, usually went to midwives because they were much more affordable. This seemed to change in the 1900s when specifically the 1920s, when the women started to have more liberal views. They believed originally through religion that birth was painful because of Eve's curse, and because she took the apple and ate it, and so God was like, curse you, you have to have children, and it's going to hurt really bad, pretty much. And so they were like, I don't believe that. I don't have to go through pain. And so they went to the hospitals. And this kind of backfired. They got what they wanted. They didn't have to feel the pain, but the way that the doctors went through it was not the best. And so during the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, a lot of women had died from the medication that was used, and a lot of children were born with defects, like without arms and legs, and just stuff like that. And just to give you an example, X-rays done on pregnant women weren't canceled, X-rayed until the late 1950s, early 60s. And if you know what that does, it gives a child cancer when you get X-rays when you're pregnant. So that's just kind of the thing, that they didn't really test anything before they did it. It was kind of a testing period, and a lot of people got hurt while doing it. Today, midwifery, I would say, is more prevalent because of that, because they didn't test anything, so women were like, yeah, let's stay out of the hospital, let's go to midwives. And it's also more prevalent because the cesarean rate in our country is very, very high compared to other countries. Like Britain is 5%, and our country's cesarean rate is 35.1%. That's one of the highest in the world. The only other one that is high, very, very high, is Brazil. They're at 95%, because the way that you have to deliver in the hospital is just terrible. I've seen very many videos. It's very sad. I got all of this information from Felder Hessen, one of my sources. Today, the standards for midwifery are a lot different than they were in the 1900s. You must take a certification exam through the American Midwifery Certification Board. There are two types of midwives. There is a CNA, or a nurse midwife, and there is a lay midwife, or just a CM. The education that the nurse midwife has to have is they go through nursing school, and then they go through midwifery school, and then they usually do an internship. So if we look at the years of that, they have to do the prereqs for nursing school, which I'm doing right now, so this is kind of like the route that I would take, is it's like 2 to 3 years for prereqs, then nursing school, which is 3 to 4 years, and then you have to go to midwifery school, which is 2 to 3 years, and then usually you would do an internship at a practice before you would want to go on and start your own practice or get a job at the practice that you're doing an internship at. So that's about 12 years they have under their belt before they're even really in the main deliverer of the baby. So a lay midwife, the education that they have is their entire life. So they would learn from, maybe their grandma was a midwife and they were like, I love babies and this is what I want to do, and they figured it out. And maybe it's just tradition that their family does this and that's what they've always done. And so what they would do is they would go along and they would just be at the birth with the grandma or with whomever was the midwife and learn from them. And both of these types would take the certification exam, pass it, and then they would move on. In a lot of other states still, the midwives have, like the midwifery schools have different things that you have to accomplish, like high school diploma, different things, so it differs from state to state. Although the requirements to become a midwife vary from state to state, there is one thing that we can be sure of, and that is that the midwife knows what she's doing. At the practice, she'll help you. She usually just checks up on you, talks about your birth plan, and does measurements, she makes sure that the baby's okay. At the birth, whether it be with a doctor, a birthing center, or your own home, she is there for you. She is usually a doula too, so she goes through all that with you. She makes sure that you're doing okay, makes sure the baby's okay, and something isn't. She knows to call that red flag and be like, this is going wrong and I want to put it up to you. Do you want to go to the hospital? And makes it your choice, makes it your decision on whether or not you want to go. After the birth, she immediately delivers the placenta and can help you with placenta encapsulation. It helps a lot with postpartum depression. She also will check up on you if you had a home birth and help you. So, and also if you had your baby at the center, then she will just let you stay overnight. In the end, a midwife strives for women to have the birth plan she wants, whether it be with her or without her. Midwifery is gaining more interest since the 1700s because of the education they have and the way that they help the family and the mother. I want to leave you with this. No matter what your birth plan is, leave it knowing that it wasn't your mom's choice, it wasn't your husband's choice, it wasn't your midwife or doctor's, it was yours. And be confident in the fact that you can give birth the way you want and be knowledgeable about what it is that you want.